Most of the Western world has watched Putin's invasion of Ukraine in horror as images of fighting, destruction, and apparent war crimes surface. But if you're in Russia, the story is told in a completely different way. TV channels are not allowed to independently report on the conflict and must instead toe a line of support for Putin's war. The Russian president has worked hard to crush independent media in his country for years, and his efforts are now paying off. The most popular independent outlets have been blocked in Russia, while state television still dominates the news agenda for many people. All TV channels in Russia are either independently owned by the state or controlled by the oligarchs who toe the Kremlin line. Editors from state TV are even invited to weekly briefings at the Kremlin, where they are given talking points and topics they need to cover. The result of this level of control is a media echo chamber where news channels go to extreme lengths to support Putin's regime. The whole world was shocked by photos and videos emerging from the town of Bucha, where at least 320 civilians were killed by Russian troops. But viewers in Russia are offered a completely different picture. The Russia 1 channel first doubted the very fact that anyone was killed in Bucha and later described it as Western provocation.
В ведомстве напомнили еще одну, в общем-то, очевидную вещь. Любые обвинения должны строиться на реальных фактах. Это касается в первую очередь ситуации в украинской Буче. Явная провокация, которую коллективный Запад без каких-либо доказательств пытается использовать для усиления санкционного давления на Россию.
It also claimed the UN Security Council was refusing to convene to discuss the massacre.
Что творят украинские бандформирования? Новые свидетельства от очевидцев. Все чаще экстремисты обстреливают гуманитарный коридор из Мариуполя, не давая людям выйти в безопасное место. Местных жителей фактически держат в заложниках. Постоянные издевательства, бессмысленная агрессия. Горожане, которых спасли военные России и ДНР, рассказывают страшные подробности. Огневые точки экстремисты устраивали в жилых домах, больницах, выстрелы в спину, убийства ради забавы.
Russian TV often makes no mention of the horrific reports of death and destruction that splash over media in the West. Despite verified reports of horrendous human suffering in the besieged town of Mariupol that withstood weeks of indiscriminate Russian airstrikes and shelling, Russian TV wants to make it look like Moscow is not to blame. Channel 1, in a recent news program, accused Ukrainian far-right militants of holding the residents of Mariupol hostage and not letting them evacuate the town that was obliterated by Russian attacks.
Нежелание обсуждать ситуацию в Буче – это провокация в стиле Геббельса. Западные делегации решили провести вместо этого совещания по вопросу женского образования в Афганистане. Вы видите их приоритеты. Причина этого ясна. Проведение совещания якобы сыграет на руку России и подорвет усилия Запада по дезинформации.
Opinion polls before the war showed that an overwhelming majority of Russians viewed Ukrainians as a friendly nation. The Kremlin has had to deploy its best propagandists in order to offer Russians a picture of alternative reality that will make them look like liberators of the oppressed Ukrainian people and not the invading force that brings death and destruction. In 2014, Russian state TV fanned the flames of hatred against Ukrainians when Moscow annexed the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula. TV anchors and pundits then insisted that Russia had to seize Crimea to save its residents from far-right activists, whom it called Nazis. 8 years later, the Kremlin used that narrative to justify the invasion of Ukraine.
Украинские нацисты готовят серию убийств мирных жителей в Черниговской области. Информация об этом располагают российские правоохранительные органы. Подготовка к этому кровавому преступлению уже началась. Более того, расправа может произойти сегодня вечером, 6 апреля. Одним из доказательств служит аудиозапись, которая оказалась в распоряжении СМИ. На ней сотрудник СБУ просит собеседника, который, вероятно, находится в Семеновском районе Черниговской области, предоставить ему данные нескольких местных жителей, которых можно казнить за возможное пособничество военнослужащим Вооруженных сил России.
Most of those Russians who get their news from independent outlets are still able to get independent reporting by using VPN. But millions of Russians have no means or skills to do that. It's difficult to estimate what effect the state propaganda has on Russians, since the Kremlin has worked hard to scare people into submission by jailing its critics and everyone who dares to come out and protest. Russia saw daring acts of civil disobedience all over the country to protest the invasion, in defiance of a new war censorship law. But the propaganda also proved very effective for many others. A countless number of Ukrainians say their close relatives in Russia simply won't believe them when they tell them about Russian shelling and the atrocities they witnessed firsthand.
She is my mother. I'm telling her what is happening, like that we are going to shelters, we hear bombs, there is like attacks. She's not believing me, so I stopped talking to her because I can't. If she don't believe her own daughter, she's all totally brainwashed from TV, because their TV is all about this propaganda.
But instead, they keep parroting lines from state TV.